Hello everyone and welcome to another random video on the internet. And today we will be talking about a topic that's been suggested a couple of times on this channel before. What if the S-class heroes from One Punch Man ate monster cells and became monsters? How would they change, how much stronger would they get, and so on. Really quickly though, before we get into the topic of the video, I want to say a couple of things. Firstly, uploads will be pretty slow in the foreseeable future because I have a lot of stuff going on IRL right now, and I'm also working on What If Boros Turned Good Season 2 in the background. I'm already commissioning some stuff, and yeah, that just takes up time, so the videos will probably be bi-weekly for a few months. And one last thing that I want to mention before the video is that I am going to be doing this pretty much not off the top of my head but without a script, so I just have some things marked down and I'm not actually scripting this because I don't have very much time right now. So forgive me if the video is a bit less professional than it normally is, not that it's usually professional, but you get what I mean. So without any further ado, let's just jump right into it. So we'll go in the order that the heroes are ranked in the series itself, and number 17 is Puri Prisoner, so we're starting with him. So firstly, this is bad news for us men. He would not be able to resist his, let's just say, urges. If you've read the manga, you know what Puri would do to any man he sees on the street. It would be horrible. Like, I would not want to live in that world at all. But other than that, he would definitely increase his vibration ability that he got from fighting Neon and fighting all these other monsters. So that would definitely be increased. Maybe he would be somewhat similar to what Beelzebub is in Record of Ragnarok, where he can use vibrations to like almost send projectile-like attacks. He can use it to destroy very large areas. He can maybe use it as a shield to like disrupt psychic attacks or energy-based attacks. Or even just block, like, physical blows. He just vibrates so much that he sort of, like, creates a force field, so to speak. So, like, pretty much Beelzebub from Record of Ragnarok. Another thing that I could see happening with him is his chest armor would definitely increase. He would become probably hairy all over his body like Bigfoot. And maybe the hair would become spiky like a porcupine, so it's harder to hit him without injuring yourself. Then another thing that would definitely happen with him is increased healing, because he already has a minor healing factor as we've seen, so now he would probably not be anywhere near Boros or Zombie Man, but he would probably be able to maybe regenerate a lost arm, or maybe even regenerate from being chopped in half or something like that, you know, like he could definitely increase his healing a lot. So overall, I would say he's probably going to be like a mid to high dragon level threat. Maybe he could take on Darkshine, maybe even beat Darkshine, because, you know, monsterization is pretty inconsistent throughout the series. Various monsters and humans get various different buffs from monsterizing, so it's hard to say exactly where he would be. But if you want to use those like conventional mid-dragon, high-dragon terms, that's where he would be, in my opinion. He would be somewhere from Darkshine to Bang level, maybe, something like that. At least that's what I think. Next up, number 16 is Tank Top Master. So firstly, definitely just increased physical strength, just specifically, mostly physical strength. Like, obviously his other stats would increase, but I assume that the physical aspect of him would be what increases the most. Just the strength, how much can he lift, how hard can he punch, stuff like that. Then, I think it would be funny if his tank top became a lot tighter. And then because of that, his heart always beats super fast and he always gets constant adrenaline. And he's just always super active, super on guard, always very fast to react, and he always picks fights. I just imagine something like that. Like, he's just constantly wearing like a super tight tank top, like in the webcomic almost. And then he's just so, like, he's boosted because of it and he's just on drugs. And then another thing that I could imagine... This one's honestly the best thing on this entire video. So, he would have a tighter tank top mode. Something like a miniature meteoric burst. Where his tank top just tightens so much that it just pushes his body to just go beyond the limits of what his body can achieve. And he just goes like Super Saiyan almost, like I said, miniature meteoric burst. And then as a drawback to this, the tank top starts suffocating him, so he has to finish a fight quick if he doesn't want to just suffocate to death. So yeah, this is honestly my favorite idea on this list, because I could definitely see Murata doing something like this, or one, if Tank Top Master actually was a monster. I feel like it's very comedic, so yeah. Threat level, probably mid to high dragon and base, just like Puri, maybe a little bit higher, because personally, I have differing opinions on who would win. Like, one day I might think one thing, one day I might think another thing, but in general, I think Tank Top Master probably does have higher stats than Puri. So he would just be like Puri, but a little bit better, you could say. He could probably beat Darkshine. But then, in the tight tank top mode, he could definitely go up to high dragon, and maybe he could give like Bang or Flashy a good fight. Maybe even beat them, who knows, you know, like, it depends on how much the boost from the tighter tank top would be. Next up, number 15 is Metal Bat. So, the first thing is one that I've heard in the comments and in my live chats from live streams. An idea could be that he would keep his pump boosts in base. So he's basically, whenever he's fighting, he gets pumped up, and then instead of going back down after the fight, he just keeps it. Because some people theorize that he just keeps his pump boosts, and that's why he seems so much stronger later in the series, which it could be the case, but it's not confirmed. So here it would just be like a definitive case where he just fights someone, gets stronger, and then just keeps that strength, and then the next time he fights, he grows even stronger. Something like Garo, to be honest. Like, it would be exactly like Garo. And then another thing that I could see happening is the Metal Bat becomes sort of part of his body so that he can never lose it. And if it breaks somehow, it's supposed to be unbreakable, but if it breaks, he could probably regrow it. And then another thing that I could see happening is he always adapts to the people he fights. Like, he always matches their wavelength, and he just always gets resonance buffs against whoever he's fighting. So like, you know what happened with Garo, where he resonated with Garo and got stronger because of it? That's what I would imagine would happen in every single fight he's in. He just resonates with the person and then grows stronger because of that. So that's something that I could see happening. And then I would also say that it is possible that he could passively grow stronger with every single movement he makes, because he's technically exercising his muscles whenever he moves, you know, like, even breathing technically uses muscles in the body. So imagine if instead of needing to get injured to really get stronger, it's just from any physical activity, and then he's just passively growing stronger and stronger with every single movement he makes. And the more he's moving, the stronger he gets. So if he's fighting, that growth is extremely sped up. But even just in general, just sitting still, he could still grow a little bit stronger every single day. So threat level in base, I would assume it's like mid to high dragon as well, because I think he's pretty similar in base to Tank Top Master and Puri, maybe a little bit below in just base. So yeah, I think he's definitely got that mid to high dragon energy in him, and then he's just constantly growing stronger and stronger. So number 14 is Genos, and boy, I have a lot to say about him. Firstly, I believe that it's possible he could unlock numerous new gadgets, like maybe poison gas, maybe combat drones he could release from his body. Sort of like Delta or Ao from Boruto, something like that. Then I think that he could also get like compact nuclear missiles or something. That's definitely not outside of his reach at this point, because this is specifically like Genos, Monster Association and beyond. So this is the Genos that can like clash with Psycho Sorochi. So miniature nukes is not insane for him at all. Like, he could just pull up an arm, and then in the arm he has like 10 mini nukes inside of it or something like that. That could be pretty fun. Then another thing that I could definitely see him having is nanotech that would allow him to regenerate or create new limbs. So like, if he gets the meme is, you know, he gets beat up in every single fight, he gets wrecked in every single fight he's in. So now he would be able to regenerate to some limited degree, because, you know, like, maybe the nanotechnology isn't infinite, he can't regenerate forever, but he could regenerate at least like a few times, you know? So I think that's good. It would sort of be like Iron Man from the MCU, mixed with the Asurapath from Naruto, who can just grow extra limbs and faces and shoot missiles and stuff. I feel like Genos could definitely have something like that. Then I also think that another thing he could have is he would be equipped with a radar system that allows him to detect and track everything around himself, and like let's say a 500-meter radius. This is for a few things, because we know he can already like detect life signals and energies. And we know that he sort of has trouble against speedsters a lot of the time, like against Sonic, against Awakened Cockroach. He specifically develops countermeasures for them. So now imagine if he has a constant radar that's like, you know, sort of like Nen from Hunter x Hunter, where they have like this thing called N, in which they basically just create a field around themselves where they could just feel everything. So imagine in fights he's just hyper aware of his surroundings, and he can always track his enemy's movement, so even against speedsters he's not going to really be caught off guard, because he can still track their moves, not with just his eyes, but also with just everything around him pretty much. And then another hypothetical that I could see happening is him having infinite energy, sort of like the androids from DBZ. No, it wouldn't mean he's like universal or anything, but just that he has a never-ending supply of energy, sort of. And then the final thing that I could imagine for Genos is that he could use his 10-second mode without melting down multiple times a day. That would be super OP, and I feel like the explanation for this could be either the infinite energy thing, or the nanotech being able to heal his body after the 10 seconds mode, or maybe both in tandem. And so he could just utilize 10 seconds anytime he pleases, like let's say 3 times a day, you know. I think that would be extremely overpowered. And all in all, Genos, if you've seen my One Punch Man ranking videos, like the top 20 strongest characters and so on, I think he's already like above Dragon, or at the very, very, very least super high peak of High Dragon. So with this, he would definitely be one-shotting Orochi. He would probably be able to clash with Psycho Sorochi pretty well. He might even beat Sorochi, to be honest, like depending on how much of a boost he gets from monsterizing. So I would say definitely above Dragon, maybe even closing in on God level. Not quite there, but maybe getting like inching toward that, you know. Now we get to Flashy Flash, who is number 13. One problem that he has is losing his sword in fights. You know, specifically we saw it with Insta-Kill, he lost it and then he is implied to be nerfed because of it. So I would say that he could grow new swords from his bones, like Kimimaro from Naruto, if you've seen that. He could just create new weapons for himself from his bones. Shuriken, maybe other ninja gadgets, you know, stuff like that. And the bones would just regenerate inside of him, so he wouldn't be losing like his spine or anything. Then another pretty obvious thing is just a speed increase, because his speed is the most like hyped up attribute, the most impressive attribute, that the thing he's known for. So the speed would be especially increased even further. He could probably just blitz Platinum S with ease at this point and like contend with higher versions of Monster Garo and stuff like that. Then I think something interesting could be him learning Genjutsu like Empty Void, like he just monsterizes and he just has that innate ability unlocked. Sort of similar to what Empty Void can do. And then another thing that I could imagine is he could run so fast that he can just run on air, so sort of giving him flight, you know, like my guy from Naruto, sort of, where he can just kick off of the air because he's that fast. He could reach targets in the air and stuff like that. And then another thing that I could see being the case is just actual substitution jutsu, because we know that Hellfire and Gale have a version of this where they switch into logs, which is, I assume, a reference to Naruto or just ninjas in general. So what if Flashy Flash actually like legit had it not as a skill, but as an ability where like if he's really pressed in a corner, if he really sees that he's about to die, he can legit just switch places with an object, like maybe once a day or twice a day or something like that. So overall, threat level would definitely be above Dragon. Like he's wrecking like 99% of the verse at this point, because he's already insanely strong. So you add this and yeah, he's beating every cadre, probably beating Orochi too, to be honest, depending on how much stronger he gets. So yeah, he's definitely above Dragon. Now moving on, number 12 is Watchdog Man. He sucks. His nose becomes so sensitive that he dies upon smelling something disgusting in the city. Like somebody just pooped and he died instantly because of the smell. And threat level dead. Moving on. Number 11 is Super Ally Darkshine. So he's known for durability and strength mainly, so that's the aspect that would increase the most. He would become an absolute tank, even more so than he already is. He would become super confident, and he would love fighting for his life, because, you know, that's his main weakness. So monsterizing, if he were to monsterize, it would be with the goal of gaining confidence, right? That's like the biggest motivator that I could see for him monsterizing. So, if he did monsterize, I think he could become just super confident and he just loves fighting for his life. He's like a Saiyan at that point. And even more so, he would crave to be damaged and become pumped up like Metal Bat when damaged, because the main weakness that Darkshine has is when he's damaged, he loses confidence. So here, you could say instead of that, he becomes like Ultra Ego Vegeta or like Metal Bat, and just grows stronger every time he takes damage, like just flip that on its head. And I think that it could be just a massive buff for Darkshine, and it could be pretty hilarious to see him just do this absolute 180. And then, okay, this one, hear me out on this one, it's a little bit less orthodox, but this is just a thought. What if his skin became oiled like an actual bodybuilder? Like, you know how bodybuilders oil their skin so they look better on stage, the light gets reflected better? So what if his skin is constantly oiled, and so it's harder to land critical hits? Like, you punch him and your hand just slides off. Like, you try to stab him and the knife just slides upwards instead of stabbing into him. I think that could be pretty fun. You know, it's not a necessity, but it could be a nice bonus. So overall threat level, I would say super high dragon or above dragon. Like, it's one or the other. Like, he's probably messing up Orochi at this point, because Darkshine is incredibly strong by himself, and then add monsterizing, and then add his growth on top of that potentially. And I think he could probably contend with Orochi at this point. So yeah, I think super high dragon to just above dragon is a pretty good estimate for him. Now number 10 is Pig God. So he basically just becomes Gums, but even more insane, because Gums, you know, it's Pig God but better. So this is what Pig God would become. His appetite would become even more outrageous than it is already. And I feel like he could become sort of like Fat Gum from MHA, if you've seen that. He could be extremely resistant to damage. The fat on his body could absorb hits and stuff like that. And then another thing that could be the case is him converting his calories into power. Because we've seen that his calories can be converted into like energy for Fubuki to use to heal Tanked Up Master. So now what if he could just by himself convert calories into energy? So he slims down and just goes like Choji butterfly mode. If you've ever seen Naruto, he slims down, loses the shock absorption and whatnot, but he just becomes super fast and super strong. I think that could be pretty interesting for him. So threat level all in all would probably be like mid to high dragon. Maybe with the slim mode, maybe he could be like pretty high dragon, you know, something like that. Not too insane, but pretty good. Then number 9 is Drive Knight. This is another one that I have plenty of ideas for. So firstly, what I would imagine is he could have a sort of a supercomputer in his brain, which would allow him to connect to and access all data from the internet at any time. He's pretty much almost like a spy type of character, you know, like he's investigating things constantly, you know, collecting samples for research and stuff like that. So, imagine this, he can access like military codes, he can access security cameras for his spy activities, he can access like secret government experiments or whatever. He can just access all the data in the world and collect it, and just store it inside himself to use for further testing and further sample gathering and stuff like that. So I think that could be pretty fun for him. Another one that I think could work is he could combine multiple modes into one. So you know, like he has that motorcycle mode, he has the night mode, he has the like, you know, the golden armor, the jet, the bike, you know, everything like that. Imagine if he could combine multiple of them into one. So he can not only fly, but drive super fast, and then burn, like, the golden mode all in one, you know? Like, I think he could be pretty OP with that. And then another one that, similar to Genos, I think he could have infinite energy, because that's just pretty much a no-brainer for cyborgs. That's, like, the go-to. And then, one thing that I could see being the case and being very interesting is we know that he uses that box to make his transformations, right? Because he always carries around a box with him. But what if he had a shrinking technology or something of the sort, and he could just keep like a dozen boxes on him at the same time? So like, whenever he's in combat, he doesn't just use one box, but he summons like 10 of them. and then he just upgrades himself with all 10 of those boxes, and just, like, he combines every mode into one. He starts burning, starts going maximum overdrive with, like, 20 different weapon systems all in the same body. Like, that could be really cool, and I feel like it would also add a level of, like, a power scaling simplicity. You could say, like, oh, he's using 5 boxes against this opponent, meaning they're this strong. Oh, he's using 8 against this one, therefore they must be, like, more difficult to deal with or stronger or something. They're like, it could be fun for power scalers to use as reference as well. So, overall, I would definitely say High Dragon, at least, because we know Drive Knight is strong, but we just don't know exactly how strong he is, so I feel like High Dragon is a fair estimate at this point. He could probably give people like Bang and Flashy Flash a hard time. Maybe even beat them, who knows, depends on how much stronger he would get. And depends on how strong he is right now currently as well, because we just don't exactly know. But yeah, overall, he definitely has a lot of potential as a monster. Or as a monsterized cyborg, you could say. Next up, number 8 is Zombie Man. So, the first thing is his immortality. He's obviously known for that. So now, he would become completely and utterly immortal. So, we know he did say that he was about to die to one of Homeless Emperor's attacks, or at least he thought he would. So now he just becomes completely immortal. Like SCP-682 from the SCP Foundation, if you've ever seen that. So he just becomes completely resistant, or not resistant to, but able to survive absolutely anything and everything. Poisons, reality erasure, concept erasure, nukes getting disintegrated on an atomic level, anything. He can just survive absolutely anything. And then, what's the biggest weakness of characters like these? Being sealed in some way, right? Like being captured, being immobilized, and just sealed in the Muken or sealed in the hyperbolic time chamber or whatever. So, to prevent that, he would be able to teleport and to escape any seal that he is in. Like, he can teleport, maybe not through dimensions maybe, because I feel like that's a little bit OP. But you know, like, if he's ever just trapped or immobilized, he can just teleport or phase his way out of there or something like that. Then another thing that I could see him happening, it's a small thing, but it's an improvement, is he would have eagle vision, because he's a spy and eagles have very good eyes, so you know, he always needs to spot everything in the battlefields and in his investigations. So therefore, he would just have really good eyes. Now this is a fun one. I think he could put explosives into his own body, and then he would just throw his rigged body parts at opponents and blow them up with this. So I think it could be pretty fun. I think he could even make it so that his blood would be poisonous or acidic or something like that, so that whenever his enemy damages him with, let's be honest, like, he's getting damaged in almost every single fight he's in. So imagine if his enemy like stabs him in the gut or something, and then the blood from Zombie Man just poisons and paralyzes the enemy, or just straight up melts their arm off or something. Like, imagine how OP that could be. And, you know, it would be something like Vomited Fear Ugly, but like even better or just as good, you know? So I think that could be pretty fun. So overall, I would say threat level mid-dragon. Like, he's not gonna be a powerhouse even with this, because he's pretty weak physically, but he is just such an enduring, like, presence. Like, he just cannot be done away with no matter what you do. So I would say he's mid-dragon, but he could outlast almost anybody in the series at this point. Number 7, King. So for King, I just have one really simple change. He becomes aware of his luck and just starts abusing it. Like, he just becomes aware, yeah, I'm super lucky, the universe will not let me die no matter what, so I'm just gonna do whatever I want to do. And he just becomes instantly just unstoppable, above God, moving on. Number 6 is Metal Knight. For this, I would say that for Metal Knight, the biggest thing that I could see happening is he becomes the alien from Mars Attacks. Like, his brain just sticks out of his head. His brain is just like 10,000 IQ, just too big to fit inside his skull. He can invent all sorts of new weapons with that super high IQ. And I would say that another change is that he wouldn't need to eat or sleep, so he could just focus on creating new weapons and inventions and robots day and night. And maybe he could even, like, turn himself into a cyborg or something, like, who knows. But honestly, I don't really see that much changing, because Metal Knight is you know, he's Metal Knight, he uses robots, he uses metal, not like... He doesn't fight himself at all, so I think generally just monsterizing would provide him with just improvements to his research and improve his ability to work on those inventions of his. Now moving on, number 5 is Child Emperor. So the first thing that I could see happening is he becomes a cyborg, or at least like somewhat of a cybernized version of a monster, something like that. And he would be able to fuse gadgets into his own body, so... You know, he doesn't need a backpack anymore, he doesn't need anything like that, he just presses down on his skin and just tens of thousands of weapons and gadgets just jump out of him and start attacking or whatever. Like, he could just carry weapons within himself. And then another thing that I could see for him is that we know he gets less smart when his sugar levels are down. So just a general life improvement for him would be to just constantly have high sugar levels so he's never dumbed down. And then another thing that I would include for him is he doesn't have any self-doubt, because now he does. He does have very low self-esteem at points. So now he wouldn't have any self-doubt, he would be able to, you know, be more mentally prepared for fights and so on. And then one final thing, depending on how crazy you think the monsterization would be, maybe he just becomes so insanely genius or just somehow able to produce metal and robots from his body and stuff like that. So maybe, if, hypothetically, the monsterization somehow enables him to do it, he might have an army of brave giants, and maybe they won't even have a time limit. Or maybe he could just press down in his arm and then just become Brave Giant instantly, like transform into Brave Giant, like a transformation instead of an extra technology gadget and whatnot. So threat level overall definitely high dragon, maybe even above dragon with the Brave Giant thing. Now number 4, Atomic Samurai. Firstly, what I would have to do for him to be better is his sword fuses into his body. That's like the first thing, because obviously his biggest weakness is losing his sword. So if he fuses the sword with himself, he's not losing his sword, unless he gets his arm chopped off, which we'll talk about later. Another thing that I could see him having is infinite stamina with the Sunblade, because that's another weakness of his. He doesn't have stamina with the Sunblade, so now, as a monster, he would become strong enough and have enough stamina to actually wield a Sunblade with little to no drawbacks. Another thing that I could imagine for him is he would grow 2 extra arms, and those extra arms would both have swords on them. So he just becomes like the meme from Star Wars, where it's like the guy just throws off his jacket and then just 4 arms with 4 lightsabers come out. That's pretty much what I would imagine Atomic Samurai to be. And he can just perform like 4 sword-style atomic slashes and insane stuff like that. I feel like this is pretty fitting for Atomic Samurai because he's, you know, a swordsman. So I think him having just extra arms with swords on them would be pretty funny and pretty deadly as well. And then another thing that I could see happening is he would get light armor plating all over his body, like maybe like scales or like sort of samurai armor or something like that. Just so his durability is upped a bit, because we know he gets damaged by like black acid and stuff like that. So just to help him out with that, he could get that. Maybe it would decrease his speed a little bit, but at the same time the 4 extra arms would just make up for the speed decrease and just make him even faster overall. So threat level, all in all, I would say is definitely like fringe above dragon, maybe even just like regular above dragon, because Atomic Samurai is interesting in the sense that we've already sort of seen him monsterized with the Sunblade for a very brief instant. So imagine that, but like on mega steroids, and I think he could rise to that like fringe above dragon range maybe. Then number 3 is Silver Fang. So his one is pretty obvious, I would say. Firstly, he doesn't have his back issues anymore. I think he could maybe return to his youth. He keeps all the experience as an old man, but he just returns to his prime body. And I could see him being able to perform the Exploding Heart Release Fist and the Awakening Breath in tandem with no drawbacks and very little stamina drain. I could definitely see him being like sort of what Garo was, but even more insane, because he was already sort of able to combat that Garo as a human, so imagine as a monster, and then he gets Awakening Breath and the Exploding Heart Release Fist. I think that would be pretty insane. And then just one extra little detail which I would add for him is he would get 2 extra eyes to better perceive any movements and predict attacks. So overall, I would say definitely threat level above Dragon, like easy above Dragon for Bang. He would be definitely in that flashy flash range as well, like, you know, monster flashy flash range specifically. And I think that he could probably tango with Orochi, probably even beat him, to be honest. Now number 2 is Tatsumaki. And for her, I would imagine that she just keeps her abilities and just becomes super amplified with them. I would also imagine that her actual body would become a lot tougher and a lot less likely to be damaged. I think a funny combination would be just, like, Tatsumaki would just be a combination of herself, Pain from Naruto, and Darth Vader from Star Wars. Like, she could just create, like, gravity spheres for stuff, she could push and pull things like she already can, she could create massive crushing attacks and gravity, she could just grab people's necks like Darth Vader and just snap them into pieces. And then, one thing that I would imagine to be extremely overpowered for her is she could manipulate people's internal organs, which we've already sort of seen her do, because she's able to extract a needle from Fubuki. So imagine if she just, as a monster, she doesn't have any ethical restraints, she can just, whenever she wants, just like snap her fingers and twist a person's insides, just like destroy the lungs, the heart, everything. I think that would be extremely overpowered. And honestly, unless you're Saitama or you have really good regeneration, I would see it affecting pretty much everybody in the verse and killing them instantly. And then another ability I would add for her is being able to conjure up objects from her mind, so like, sort of like the green rings from DC, you know, like she just imagines a giant hammer and it appears, she just imagines a giant, I don't know, like cannon and it just shoots like a planet-busting beam or whatever. Speaking of planets, I think she could definitely just twist planets out of existence at this point, because Tatsumaki, if you know me, you know I think she's insanely powerful. So, as a monster, I think she could just snap her fingers and twist an entire planet into nothingness, probably. Some more things that I would like to add to her is extremely good energy sensing, because we know she can already hear and see things from very far away and sense them, so this would just amplify that. And then another, like, pretty much the most broken ability that I would add for her is she would have a constantly just regenerating passive barrier 24/7, and it would be sort of similar to Gojo's Limitless. So it's just always active, she can just basically just sleep with the barrier on. A completely impenetrable shield, unless you're like Boros or Saitama or Cosmic Garo or God or King. Those are like the only characters, Blast 2 probably, but like honestly, I think Tatsumaki beats Boros at that point. Like, she's threat level god. Like, Tatsumaki with like infinity and then just hyper amped up stats on top of that, and like durability negation and everything. Like, yeah, just take the god label and leave. Like, it's ridiculous how strong she would be. And finally we have Blast. So honestly, I don't know, because we just don't know much about him at this point, so I would just say he's just even faster, even stronger, has more hacks. Like, I can't really say that much for him at this very moment in time. And yeah, that's about it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm interested to see your thoughts. Let me know what you think about some of these, because I think some of these are really fun. Like Tatsumaki, Tank Top Master, Puri, I think are pretty fun. So let me know what you think. And with nothing else to say, I wish you a good rest of your day. Goodbye.